Hey guys, welcome back. Yeah, another update for the Kickstarter, and today I'm with director Ben Richardson and our writer Chris Hague. So what got you interested in this project?
Project itself, Ben came to me with and started talking to me about, well, first of all he said, we've got this idea about a vegan zombie, and straight away you've got that oxymoron really, and that was just crazy. And then we looked at this idea of what could we do? Could we make it a comedy? Could we make it something much more action based? And then we started floating ideas around and talking about this idea of it being like a zombie version of Blade or something like that, and really getting some action in there. We watched a few examples of some things, and then straight away it just took me on this journey, really, this idea of let's make this a really cool action, non-stop, inexorable journey, really, to make it as exciting as possible. And that, everything then just started falling into place, really, storylines and characters and everything that we really wanted. So what did you think after, like, originally hearing it and thinking that oxymoron there, but then seeing, like, the explanation we had for it? Absolutely. Do you know what? It takes you by surprise. At first, it does, doesn't it? At first you're thinking this is going to be sort of comedic value and all that kind of stuff, and whenever you say it to somebody, you go down to the bars or something, you go, what kind of this thing about a vegan zombie? They give you a chuckle, don't they? They think it's really common. That's exactly it. And we would go, then I started, so initially when Ben mentioned it to me, I was thinking Shaun of the Dead, which is one of my favourite, one of my favourite movies, really. And then I looked down all these different ideas, and then straight away we went, what if we didn't do that? That's what people were expecting when they initially heard the title. So then we thought, right, well, let's go down this route of really how cool could it be? This guy who's, a zombie superhero. Zombies you always see as the negative character, always, almost the antithesis of a hero. And we are making somebody a hero. And then when you think, when somebody is a zombie, what can they do that is beneficial, then it becomes really quite exciting, because then you can start throwing out all the strengths that a zombie can have, really. So that became really exciting. So you're a writer, you're a professional writer. Can you tell us, like, how you got into writing, what kind of projects you've worked on? Yeah, sure. So initially, I came out of university having studied ancient history, actually, which is a bit strange, but then went into writing and became a journalist, broadcast journalist. So very much like Charlie Brooker, who writes Black Mirror. He was a broadcast journalist initially, and he wrote comment pieces for The Guardian, a newspaper back in Britain. And I wanted to do that, and then I read Charlie Brooker's scripts and things that he'd written and was absolutely blown away by them, and that was what I wanted to go into. I really desperately wanted to do that. So I started writing with my writing partner, who's over in Chicago now, but he was back in England at the time, a guy called Mike, and we started writing initially comedies, actually, because I used to do some stand-up comedy when I was in university. And he said, oh, I'm really thinking about writing sitcoms and things like that. Have you got any ideas? And I did have an idea. In fact, I had several ideas. And what we did was we wrote 2 or 3 different ideas down, and then scripted one that was a pilot for a long show. And that went into the BBC Writers' Room competition. And we got shortlisted and actually came incredibly high up in that, and it got us nominated for awards and things like that. We didn't win the awards, but... Ben was telling me, like, so how many people entered this? So there's 17,000 entrants, so it's quite a massive... 17,000 people entered, and all around the world. You placed what? Placed 4th, I think, overall, so it's pretty cool. That's overcoming obstacles. Yeah, and then what's great about that is as well, oh man, that phone shut off. Sorry, but second of all, moving on. See how I drifted straight off that? No, my face isn't this red. Don't adjust contrast. No, straight away, as soon as we'd done that, we entered another thing that was BAFTA Roadcliffe competition, which basically, if you place highly in writing competitions, you get through to this. And it's not BAFTA as in TV and film world, but it is BAFTA in terms of things that haven't been made for film but are certainly in the writing awards. So that was pretty cool. You get some feedback from some pretty awesome writers. So it was great. So we've done really well, and it's one of those things where I wanted to continue doing. So when I was back in England, I was writing content and things like that, and then I actually got introduced to some people who wrote for ABC out here for a TV show called The Fosters, which I worked on, and then they brought me out to Los Angeles. I met Ben, I met Shane, and then and now I've met you, and we're involved in this fantastic, exciting project. So you said they brought you out to Los Angeles, so where are you from? So originally I'm from Manchester, England, and then I've spent the last 2 years living in the Caribbean. So I've actually lived on a little island called Turks and Caicos.
You can't beat that.
I know, right?
And then you operated the drone?
I was a drone operator, but I was also writing content for different websites out there. So basically they wanted me to write short scripts, so for 10 minutes, maybe 5 minute, 10 minute piece of film. And also I worked doing things for commercials and stuff like that for American Airlines, FedEx, different things like that. So then basically when I came out here to meet with producers over in Santa Clarita, they were working on a TV show called Good Trouble, and they liked one of my scripts, which was about a stag do, a bachelor party. And then, yeah, that kind of got me introduced to Shane and Ben.
Yeah.
That's how I started over here.
So you went from that to working on a zombie movie.
It's pretty awesome, yeah. As I said, comedy writers really, what I like about comedy is you can, this isn't talking too much about writers in general, but comedy writers, I find, they really want to look for that empathy and sympathy within characters a lot more than just people who are writing action movies or anything like that. So you could really go for that much more in-depth character review really in that respect. So that's quite cool.
And a lot of your background is more of black comedy too. It's not like slapstick comedy. It's stuff that's centered around drama.
Yeah.
It's centered around real human condition that it kind of brings humor to, you know, and that really lightens things up. And the biggest thing it does is it brings heart to it. It brings heart to your script and heart to your characters.
Yeah.
You know, because you need heart and soul. You can't just have random laughs.
The thing I've always tried to go for, and my writing partner will certainly say this as well, when we write, we go for realism first. So we want a situation that our audience can really empathise with. And that's why vegan zombie, you think, zombie things, how can anybody empathise with that? Well, no, we want to set this in a real, believable situation.
Right,
so
that as realistic as it can be with something that you wouldn't think would really happen.
Yeah, and then people can actually then start saying, well, our lead character, for example, they can then start saying, hang on a minute, like, what would I do in that situation? They can totally believe that character because there's so many dimensions to them. You know, they won't just be like how, you know, 1980s action movies and horror movies used to be. It's going to be a lot more Game of Thrones than it is going to be, you know, whatever it used to be in the past, Dawn of the Dead or anything like that, you know.
So where we're at right now, we've evolved so much. There's so much depth in the characters, and it's paced perfectly. Like, what do you do? We have to clean up anything in your opinion? And are we set or?
I mean, we're at a point where everybody we've spoken to regarding the story, and we've tried to keep, you know, we don't want to tell everybody. So whenever we speak to people in confidence about this story, and we really try and get something about it, every single one of them is just so enthused by the project and by the sound of the story, and we know that we're onto something good then, and that's what makes that really exciting. Because you have some stories, especially we live in Hollywood for goodness sake, you know, when you're out here, people will tell you a story in a coffee shop or tell you a story somewhere or pitch a story to you, as happens to me regularly, and when they pitch a story to you, you have a switch off point. We don't have that.
No.
And in this story, that's what we didn't want. We wanted it to be grab these people from minute one and then hold them for that whole duration of the script, and that's what makes it exciting. We've got things that we want to tighten up. We don't want to have any fat on there, and in fact, you know, we talked the other day with the three of us when we were in the car. We were talking about what's our favourite action movies and stuff like that, and that was brilliant for me because it showed what do these things all have in common, you know, and that really gives us something. Then we know what we're driving for, and we know what we really like. And it's ironic because what we really like tends to be what everybody out there really likes. So in fact, the difference between writing this and writing what I've written in the past or working with other people on writing is, with this we just went, let's have fun. Let's create the action movie that we always wanted to watch. You know, we talked about Heat the other day, we talked about all these different things. It's like, let's put those elements in there.
Let's give people an emotional roller coaster ride. You've got your ups and your downs and your twists and your turns. It's like we keep saying, it's non-stop.
Yeah.
We don't waste any time. It doesn't mean that we don't have quiet moments. We certainly do. But those may be very emotional moments with our characters. And that's what we want. We want to give people the full ride. Because like recent films, I keep talking about it, but A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place was one of the most fulfilling films I've seen in years.
Yeah.
Because it had the drama, it had the action, it had the horror, but then it also catered to the genre fans. It had a little bit of fun with itself.
I think this does the same thing.
Yeah.
Just like it pulls you in, and it lets you go, and then you want to get back, you want more. I can't wait to see this concept in a film.
Yeah. It's something we're going to be on the front row for. There's no doubt about it. And as I said, like when we were writing it, there were moments where you kept turning and he's going goosebumps.
Goosebumps.
Straight away, we were like, that's a moment right there. There's a twist that we'd love to see. Hang on a minute, what about throwing this in there? All the time, our characters, every single character in this has got an incredible arc. And that's what we wanted, because in this short thing, as we said, all this action, we wanted to keep this amazing arc going.
And they all tie in to what's yet to come in the rest of the season.
Yeah, it sets everything up, and it alludes to a lot of things, and it's like pulling back the springboard right before you let go. You got all this tension and all this possibility and potential, and the whole rest of the season is just going to be rocketing forward.
There it is. Yeah, we talked about elastic potential energy. Now this elastic kinetic energy ready to go. That's exactly where we're at with this. And the beauty of it was, when we were writing this, we had several boards up, and we said, this is if it was a short one, and this is if we had like a 4-hour film, you know, like just how we would go. And now what's great is we're making this into a series.
This is
real.
And these characters are so great. They're like, we keep saying, there's so much depth to them. You know, and one of the things that we are still working on is building those bonds between the characters. Because I know one of the things that you came to me with is that you really were influenced by Stand By Me. It was this group of friends that set out against all odds. You know, set out on a journey against all odds. And we see that in a number of stories. Like you see that in Lord of the Rings. You know, and people are really attached to those characters, and we want to set those characters up and build that bond, and prep them for the whole, to release out into that season, you know, and to build that story more. Really excited about that.
Really excited about it, definitely.
So I guess this was a great interview, meeting you and introducing you to the audience. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, just prepare yourselves, because this is going to be a heck of a thrill ride. A heck of a thrill ride.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and if you make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of these updates. And we're excited. I hope you guys are excited. This is really happening. So don't forget, watch out for zombies, and we'll see you next time.